innocence of God. Light of all creation. Accepting, merely accepting in this moment that nothing else is true. The divine, perfect innocence that you are is whole and complete for all of eternity. Nothing can change this. And this is the beginning of happiness, that nothing can change the truth of love. Resting, accepting, allowing that you are whole, perfect, and holy, despite any beliefs that are held that say otherwise. This seeming journey, this journey without distance, that all beloveds step onto the moment of incarnation, is to accept the holiness, accept the innocence, accept the beauty and perfection of the truth of love. And you, the divine, cannot leave your source. It's impossible. This is the beginning of happiness, the acceptance of innocence, and the willingness to surrender all agreements, all contracts, all perceptions, all experiences of the past, and just to accept innocence. This divine innocence, this holiness, cannot be understood with the mind, cannot be figured out in any way. This is just a leap of trust, a leap of faith, that those beloveds who have walked this earth in service of humanity and have remembered the totality of love are promising. We are promising innocence and wholeness. There's nothing you have to do, nothing you have to earn, nothing to prove, nothing to fix. Just the letting go of what you think you know. It can be let go in the blink of an eye, or it can be gnawed on, chewed on, battled with, tried to be understood. It doesn't matter. While you're gnawing and chewing and battling, nothing of your divine self is changing. Nothing alters love. And in this moment, I invite you and call you to embrace all of humanity as this divine child, the divine innocence. The willingness to put the past on the altar of love and to place the future there also. Willing to allow the future to unfold in harmony and peace and ease because it is surrendered. You have given up identifying the future as the past, and you are willing for the future to be the light of love. In this moment, I invite you, I call you to breathe. Breathing deeply and fully, and noticing that possibly you forgot to breathe today. To breathe with intention, filling every cell, every molecule with divine breath. And bringing that sacred breath deeply, deeply into your heart. Breathing and allowing and inviting. Surrendering the identity as the body into the hands of God. Surrendering this past day, this past week, this past month, past year, all the past, surrendered right now as love can reveal itself. And everyone that you walked with in the seeming journey, surrendering every beloved into the hands of God. Willing for everything to be the truth of love, the light of love. And as you breathe, breathe into the heart. And invite the heart to be undefended. Inviting the heart to come forward, open and available. Willing to meet in divine union all of life, all of humanity, undefended, unprotected, because you're willing to accept that there is nothing to be protected from, nothing to defend. In the eternal light that you are, you cannot be harmed. Your eternal, exquisite self cannot be altered. And breathing into this moment, And continuing to breathe fully and deeply, and affirming that here in the infinite circle of love we are one. There is only one presence here. It is the life force of God. Within this life force we live and move and breathe as one. This sanctuary is filled with love. This universe is all of love, harmony, and peace. Accepting, inviting, and resting as the divine. And breathing. As I sing this prayer, allow this prayer to permeate into your heart and to recognize that this prayer has been offered through a channel within a beloved who was ready to receive the divine teaching from a divine being. And that this prayer is for all of humanity's remembering. You can enter into the vibration of this prayer and accept the healing that is offered. This prayer is about forgiveness. This prayer is about the forgiveness of love and to remember the true forgiveness. The true forgiveness allows that you have carried a mistaken identity of separation, of pain, of suffering, of struggle, of battle. And the willingness to forgive that mistaken identity. And the mistaken identity that everyone has given everyone. And the willingness to see the holiness, the beauty in each beloved. But starting here, willing to accept freedom, peace, and harmony that is your true nature, your true self. All I am, all I am, all I am is given to me. My mother gives to me, my father gives to me. All I am set free. I can forgive, I am forgiven. My mother gives to me, my father gives to me. I'm here to receive, here to be forgiven. I will receive, I am forgiven. All I am, all I am, all I am is given to me. Here to receive, all I am, here to be given, all I am. I am, I am. It's to accept that nothing that you have made in the belief of being separate and limited is true. That you are the divine star, the light, the beauty, and to accept that this truth has been created. It is who you are as the oneness of God, and to accept it into the heart. This prayer, which will be sung in Portuguese, the language that it was received in, is about the power of the Spirit of love. The Spirit of love that brings divine healing. When we use the word miracles, it's just a little word. But the truth of the miracle is that time collapses. And the miracle is able to come through the third dimension and heal only the perceptions of battle, identity, allowing the Spirit of love, the power that is the universe, to transform what we offer, what we surrender, what we give up as identity and as a perception of battle, limitation, scarcity. This is not the truth of you. And it is completely possible to live in peace and harmony and ease when there is no longer an attachment, an identification with a perception that you are not only limited but temporary, that you are not and will not ever die. The truth of you can never die. The truth of you is the eternal. This cannot be understood with the mind. This cannot be understood with a concept held as a separate self, but allowing the Spirit of love to transform what is offered, what is let go of. And healing occurs. Miracles occur. The light dawns. Awareness is lit up. And peace is recognized. This is the calling. Holy, holy, holy. The divine Holy Spirit and our Blessed Mother. It is the power of love that comes to celebrate within our hearts. Here in this divine journey, one must see and one must hear what the divine Spirit brings to every heart. And now it is the hour for the battle to be let go and for love to shine. This is the new mission that every beloved has come to realize, and we bring to every beloved the well-being of oneness. And it is for all forever to sing, to dance, and to express joy and love in the truth of our oneness. Holy, holy, holy. This is the moment of love for all to remember and to embrace the truth of love. For all forever to sing and to accept the holiness within. Santo, 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 o poder de nosso Pai, o Divino Espírito Santo e a Virgem nossa Mãe, e o poder de nosso Pai que vem celebrar dentro dos corações, aqui nesta missão, a que ver, a que ouvir, que o Divino Espírito Santo a trazer os corações. E agora chegou a batalha e a hora do amor para resplandecer. Esta é a missão que agora venho cumprir, trazer aos meus irmãos o bem-estar da salvação, para todos para sempre cantar, para louvar e adorar a Jesus Salvador. Santo, 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 esta casa do Santo Cruzeiro, para todos pedir o perdão e alcançar a salvação. Para todos para sempre cantar, adorar e louvar a Jesus Salvador. To accept the holiness of love, to accept the divine truth of light and love, and to accept the divine healing that is always wanting to be offered and received. The yes of your heart, the yes. I'm ready and I'm willing to be the divine truth of love and to live that divine existence. The beloved Hafiz, who was a divine teacher of love in the 1300s, often comes to visit. And it is so perfect that this divine teacher who was walking on this earth in the 1300s with the name of Hafiz, that this beloved recognized the truth and then expressed it to humanity. And between 1300 and now, the truth is still the same. The truth is, there is only one. There is only love. There is only light. There is only wholeness. And the beauty of a beloved recognizing this in the 1300s and recognizing that you can change words, you can change dialects, you can change forms of the truth, but they all remain the same. Whether now, whether hundreds of years ago, it's all the same. Nobody's come up with a catchy new way to express the truth. It's simple and it's constant. Accept in your heart the wholeness of being and surrender everything else. So Hafiz reminds, I have learned so much. I have learned so much from God that I can no longer call myself a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Jew. The truth has shared so much of itself with me that I can no longer call myself a man, a woman, an angel, or even pure soul. Love has befriended Hafiz so completely it has turned to ash and freed me of every concept and image my mind has ever known. And this is the way. This is the easy way, is to let go and let it all be turned to ash. Let it be burned away. Everything that has been held as an identity, where you have identified yourself as a man, a woman, a Christian, a Jew, a Hindu, a Muslim, an angel, anything. Just putting it all on the altar of love and saying, I don't know who I am, but thank God, love does. And I accept and I invite the truth to be shown to me. I want to see the truth of love. I want to embrace the truth of love. And the only thing that stands in the way of that is what's been made up. But that's where the journey is. The journey isn't in learning about love. The journey isn't even in discovering love within. That love is already present. Love is who you are. You don't have to get better. You don't have to improve yourself. It's a letting go of what is not love, what's been made up, what's been conjured up in agreements with all of humanity that say we are separate, we are damaged, we are lost, we are unloved, we are unworthy of love. And the refusal anymore to accept that. And the willingness to let those identifications be burned up. Just simply burned up. When I was walking in the seeming journey, and I was called into a path, and it happened to be a shamanic path. Could have been any path. But of course, in perfect harmony, that was the path that would unravel most easily for this identification. There would always be, within the shamanic rituals, there was a place where there was always a fire. And the purpose of the fire was to put into the fire the beliefs. Now this wasn't hocus pocus. This was, I have a belief and I am willing to surrender it into the hands of God. The fire was a symbol, but it was also the recognition that it would burn up, that I didn't want it anymore. Whatever it was, whatever I was willing to surrender, whatever that I had the courage to surrender, I wasn't going to take it back with me. I wasn't going to put it out there and then retrieve it. I wanted it to be burned. I wanted it to be gone and no longer hold it as ownership. I wanted to be free. And in that wanting, everything is given. Not because I was good, not because I was a good girl, but because I no longer wanted a false life. I no longer wanted the pain and suffering that I so believed in, that I so identified in every cell of my being. I identified with that pain and suffering. I battled with it, I fought with it, I compromised with it, I ignored it, I ran from it, I despised it. But nothing would make it leave until I no longer was willing to believe it was true, that it had any worth, that it was anything of the truth, and I was willing to accept that I had made a mistake of a false identity, and I no longer wanted that false identity. I wanted to remember love. I wanted to come home, to return to the peace and joy, tranquility and harmony of a natural state that was promised to me. It was promised by every master, and I grabbed that promise and I said yes, because I didn't want to live anymore as I had lived in the past. I couldn't. I just couldn't. Thank God I couldn't. Because that was the yes that propelled the learning, that propelled the surrender, that propelled the inquiry of who am I, what am I if I am not this identity, and what am I making up, and what am I believing in that is so upside down and cannot be the truth of love. Cannot be. He said yes. So when Hafiz says that he can no longer call himself a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Jew, this is the calling of an identity that it isn't that it's bad, it's just so limiting. It narrows everything into pockets, and it narrows everything into an identity that has to be burst open. And everything has to be accepted as the oneness. Everything. Imagine that you're not going to call yourself a man or a woman anymore. Imagine that doesn't have to be your identity. You have walked within the seeming journey of time. You have walked lifetime after lifetime, sometimes as a man and sometimes as a woman, sometimes maybe as another creature, who knows? But none of them have been your identity. They have been a form that you have walked with in the belief of separation. And now it's time to let those identities go as a form that restricts, that holds you back. Why is it that at least in this culture and probably many other cultures. And culture is another thing. Culture is a creation, a making up of a system that says we are this and we have to behave like this, and we have rules and standards and agreements. But look beyond. So in that culture, when a little boy picks up a doll and wants to cuddle that doll, and the parent says, no, 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 that's for girls. You're not a girl. Every single one of these says, you are this, you are this, you are this, you are this. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just not the truth of this divine being. You can look at a little child, and if you look closely with your heart, you will see the divine being that has been in another lifetime a baby boy, a baby girl. It's all love. It's all the divine. It's all beauty. But it's not to be held as a restriction and an identification of limitation. There's a beautiful teaching of Hafiz that says, I do not want to touch any object in this world without my eyes and heart testifying to the truth that everything is my beloved. Everything. I do not want to touch any object in this world without my heart and my eyes testifying that everything is my beloved. Find that yearning in your heart to see and embrace the beloved, the innocence of every being. Every being. Are some more of a leap of faith? Yes. When someone is screaming, when someone is resistant, when someone is in a defense place, when someone is angry, when someone is even upset about anything, is it easy to see the holiness within them? Not so easy, maybe. But if you ask, if you want to see the beloved, if you want to see the divine, you will. But what happens is that the mind comes in and is already built in a nanosecond a whole story of what this means, what it's for, what you have to do about it. And that nanosecond belief that's coming in, that story that's coming in and taking your attention, is all coming from your past. It has no place else to come from. If you are afraid or upset with someone else's behavior, it is because you believe that there is a possibility that they will destroy you, that they will damage you. But you have to have already believed that you could be damaged, or else you wouldn't be in the reaction. You have to be reaching into the past and grabbing your beliefs and throwing them on everyone and everything, and then that's the world that you have. So the past has to be forgiven. The past is not the truth of who you are. How is it possible to let go of the past? You have to want to. You truly have to want to. How long does it take to make up the story in the moment? To bring the story from the past into the situation? A nanosecond. So fast that no computer could compete. Not a chance. Beyond comprehension. Whatever story is going to be used as a defense is going to be brought in immediately and used. And then in that you have a reaction, you have a defense system that is seemingly justified. And in that justification, you react. And it has to be that someone else is causing your pain and suffering. Because the fear intrinsically is that you are so unworthy of love that it's a constant throwing out on everybody else so that you keep being justified in your fear. Because there is the belief that if you touch the self-hatred within, if you touch the guilt and the shame within, you will die. There's a beautiful teaching, sacred teaching, that, I'm paraphrasing, says, if you would look at what you believe about yourself, you would be so repulsed, you would be so sickened by the vile identity that you are hiding from, that you would want to kill yourself immediately. So everybody builds a defense system and a facade of okayness to hide from that identity of pain and suffering. And it's all identified in the past. You have the proof of the past to show that you are justified. There are so many beloveds in this world because of agreements that hold the identity of being unwanted, unloved, unneeded, thrown away, abandoned, rejected. This agreement, and those who don't carry that in actuality of their perception of their life, they believe it true of others. So one way or the other, everybody is believing the same thing. I remember an identity that I carried within the belief of being unwanted, unloved, uncared for, vile, unworthy of love in every way. In later relationships, I became the designated patient. And as the designated patient, I held the belief with everybody else. I accepted it. I was the designated patient in my mind. And as the designated patient, I believed that I carried the curse of everyone. I believed I carried the curse of humanity, and that I had more to heal than anybody else, or at least as much as everybody else, and that there was no way possible that this could be healed. And I gave it my best shot. I went into therapy, did everything that I possibly could. Nothing healed. I got better. I could cope better. I didn't have as many breakdowns. But I didn't heal because I believed I was intrinsically bad, wrong, marked, cursed. This wasn't always conscious. This was unconsciously running. And at a certain point, there was a prayer. And the prayer was, that just came, this can't be all that there is. This cannot be possibly what life is supposed to be. I didn't recognize that as a prayer. I thought it was just bewilderment, but it was a prayer. I saw it later that it was a prayer. And that's when everything began unraveling. But it wasn't until years later that when I was called spiritually, and I entered the shamanic path, and there was a master, the master that had burned open that path, had left all the prayers and teachings for everyone. And there was a prayer, a teaching that I entered into. And this teaching said that the stars had told him that everything in this world could be healed. And in that moment and in that acceptance of that divine offering was the first time that I recognized that there was another life, that it was possible to heal, that it was possible to remember the truth of love, and that there was a home to come home to of peace and harmony and eternal light. Not after I died, but actually right here. Not here within this third dimension as a limitation, but here in this present moment. Here, there was all love, all light, all beauty, all perfection. Everyone has that calling, and everyone will answer that calling. Not necessarily in that same way, but in that yes that they want to remember, and that there is within you a remembering. It may be not easy to find all the time, but there is an ancient memory within you that remembers the divine perfection, the wholeness, the holiness, the light that you are. And that is the journey. So how is it possible to walk in this world and heal and surrender? How can you devote yourself so deeply? A beloved said the other day after satsang that she thought she needed to go into a monastery to be able to live so deeply. Well, the monastery is right here. The sanctuary, the monastery, is in your heart. It is your life. It is what you devote your life to once you are stirred to want to find the truth. When you want to live, really live, and not be in a death march that is an ultimate death sentence. You want to live, and that you can live now. So how is this possible? Willingness is everything. The willingness to accept the truth and to not argue with it and not to fight with it. Not to minimize it, not to put it aside when some shiny object takes your attention. I was realizing today with a beloved that how was it possible to wake up in one lifetime from the belief of pain and torture and the belief of starvation and abandonment, the belief of abandonment? How is it possible to go from that identity to awakening? It certainly isn't because there was more intelligence. It isn't because there were special gifts. It isn't because there was a special attribute of any kind. It's because there was willingness. It's because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be the learner, the receiver. I wanted to be corrected. Now this, for the ego identity, this identity of I know, the ego does not like correction. The agreement of all of humanity in one aspect is, I will do it myself, I am alone, and I want to be in control. And almost everybody, at a very young age, makes the agreement, I will never let go of my control. I want to be in control. So everybody carries it, but you have a choice. You have a choice, and that is when you wake up from the trance, which everybody's walking in a trance of I am in control, because there's actually nothing to control, so it's all a big game. But you believe that you're in control of something, and you want to be in control of more. But when you step out of the trance, like shake it off, and you actually become somewhat conscious, where you recognize you have a choice. You don't have to walk in the habits of a trance. That's the disappearing way that makes it easy to say, I'm just a victim, everything happens to me. I don't have a choice, but you do. You have a choice in every moment. You have to choose in every moment. To choose love or choose fear. To choose love, the truth, or to choose what you know from the past. How can you become the happy learner of a new way? The willingness to be corrected. Oh, everybody has an image of being corrected. I don't like that. I don't like being corrected. The identity of being corrected is to believe that something is being taken away from you, that you are being stifled, that you are being put down by the correction. But correction in the spiritual journey is love. It is the loving offering of correction. Every spiritual teaching that you have ever read, ever listened to, every sacred song that you have ever listened to, they're all corrections. That's what they are. Every poem of Hafiz, every teaching is a correction. It's to accept it as for what it is. It's a correction. It's a correction from the beliefs of ignorance. not stupidity, ignorance. It is completely ignorant to be not aware of your true self. It's a state of ignorance. It's a state of not knowing the truth, of not being aware of the truth. And you truly want that correction. At least your heart does and your soul does. Wants the correction. Or else you wouldn't be drawn to sacred teachings. You wouldn't be drawn to want a different way. And it isn't just spiritual teachings, but that's the core. That's the foundation of all true correction. The truth that you are whole and complete and the light of God. And that nothing else is true. Do you want the correction? And are you willing to accept the correction? There's nothing more miserable than having a spiritual teacher and fighting with your spiritual teacher. It's miserable. When I first met one of my teachers, Jose, that was the only teacher that was in body at that time who was truly awake. I had other teachers that were in body, but none of them were completely awake. But he was, and I ran from him. I resisted him completely because I believed when he looked at me, he saw the evil inside me, that he could see the evil. And I projected onto him all of my fears of my father, anybody else that I didn't want controlling my life. I could feel his power. I saw it as his power. It wasn't his power. It was the power of light. It was the power of love. It was the power of humanity. But humanity wasn't aware of it. I certainly wasn't aware of it. And I had to keep coming back until finally I raised the white flag. I wanted his help. I wanted him to direct me. I wanted his correction. I wanted his guidance, his way. I wanted to follow. And I wanted to be taught. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be shown. Because this was the gift. And there were other times in more sanity times where I would just be stunned of the grace that I would have an awakened teacher in my life when I was this newbie in the spiritual world. How did that happen? In the mysteries of healing, we don't know how it is that we are blessed with the teachers that are sent to us. We don't know how that occurs. We don't know all the mysteries of how the Spirit of love, the Holy Spirit, is actually guiding and shaping the divine alchemy of healing so that everything that you need is given to you. That the teachers show up when the student is ready. But then why fight it? Why not accept, devour, drink, want every morsel of what is offered? When you have a study in a sacred teaching, and you're called to study a sacred teaching that's written, it doesn't matter what it is. But are you devouring it? Are you drinking it? Are you wanting the correction from every word? Or are you looking at it and going, well, Go ahead, prove it to me, I'll see if I agree. I'll be the judge of that. And then in that arrogance, you filter through what you already know or what you think you know to see if it meets your approval. Well, whose approval is it that you think you're meeting? That's your ego. That's your false identity that is getting everything from the past and isn't aware of love. So why not drink as deeply as possible in every moment, everything that is offered? Use time for its divine purpose. Use it. It's like bring it into divine use instead of what time was made out of, which is just a linear belief that there is a beginning and an end, and that there is the beginning of maybe an existence, but there will be death. Now use time. Use it for its divine purpose. And drink, 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 drink. Every word. It takes concentration. It takes divine intention in the moment to come to the table, to come to the altar, and drink as deeply as possible and want correction of what you think you know and what you have believed in to be your identity that you came into this world with, that was already established by your belief in separation. But now you have the opportunity. When I was in the shamanic path, and I've said this before, I truly would have been voted least likely to wake up. By me too. Because I carried the belief that what I came with and what I believed in about myself was that I was so damaged that it was impossible to heal, or close to impossible to heal, and that I wasn't worthy of deep healing. But every master was telling me that there was no limitation, that there was nothing that stood in the way of complete healing. Did I want to accept that? But I had to look, did I want that? Because when you want that, you are wanting your identification to be dissolved. Now that seems like a loss. But that identification is what has brought you all your misery and pain. All the belief that you've been limited. And what is actually being dissolved is what is nothing. So the question always is, are you asking us to give up everything? And the answer is always no. I'm asking you to give up what is nothing for everything. For peace and harmony and joy and freedom. And to remember your true divine self. The light, the beauty, the perfection. That is who you are. It isn't who you know, but it is who you are. What you are. And this is the acceptance of correction. When Hafiz was referring to being given so many gifts and so many teachings that he no longer considered himself an identity, but that he was burned to ash and everything was burned to ash of what he thought he knew. He didn't become less. He opened to the divine truth of who he truly was, and that he just didn't recognize before. But correction is essential to accept correction. Now everything in the past that I walked in the belief of separation would have said, I hate correction. I hate it. I don't want to be corrected. I don't want to be found out that I'm stupid. And I don't want to be found out that I don't know everything, which is the same thing. And yet there was something within that wanted that correction, that wanted to meet in the holiness with all the masters that had been sent to me and live with them. Live not as identity of master, but as the heart of love, the wholeness and ease and perfection and beauty of God. Not wanting any more identity. Everything can be healed in the truth of love. Everything. There is nothing that you hold. Now here's the other secret. No one carries an identity that is really any different than anybody else's. And no one has had an original thought ever. Not an original thought. Nothing that you have ever thought about yourself, about anybody else, about the world, about what you know is original. When you believe in your vileness, you are believing what everybody else believes and what everybody else thinks about themselves. It's not original. When you believe that you can't heal, you're carrying the same beliefs, the same thoughts of everyone else. Nothing original. And when you heal, when you surrender, and when you allow that divine alchemy of love to heal your heart and heal the defenses that you have built to try to protect yourself, thousands heal with you. Thousands heal with you because you have agreements. Everyone has all these agreements with everybody else. And everybody is holding, it's like a giant chain attached to everybody's ankle. You know, like they used to have in the slavery days, or what prisoners wear. That's what everybody's wearing. Chains that continue on and on and on and on, holding everyone in that belief of separation. But when you say no more, and you are willing to heal, that chain dissolves. And it dissolves and starts to set everyone else free. Because you are no longer willing to hold that belief of limitation and separation and to hold humanity prisoner. So many beloveds, when they are spiritually called, they find this longing within them that they want to be of service, that they want to serve. And this is a beautiful calling, to want to serve humanity. But I promise you that the true service is in letting go and embracing the truth of oneness. That is the service to humanity. Because humanity is waiting to be freed. Humanity is waiting and doesn't know how to get there necessarily, or maybe hasn't been touched yet by that stirring, and still believes so deeply in the trance, so deeply in the false identity, that they don't even see that it's possible that there's another life. But those beloveds, all of humanity, is wanting and yearning for another life, for a new way. Do you have it in your heart to be of service? Then bring that service to your every day, your every moment that you are ready to heal. that you are ready to apply the teachings of truth and light and love to your everyday life. All teachings have tools within them to bring into your life. Let's say your tool is, I have given everything all the meaning that it has. Let's say that's your tool that you pull out of your pocket for today. It doesn't help any to read the teaching. I have given everything all the meaning that it has. And maybe you can tell other people that too. Hey, I've given everything all the meaning that it has. But it's living it. It's living it in the moment. Whatever is happening in your life, in the moment, you're eating breakfast, and all of a sudden you are saying to yourself, I don't think I like this cereal. I don't think I like this. No, don't like it. Right there is the moment of healing available, but you're not seeing it because you have determined that you don't like this cereal. And that's more important to you than recognizing that you had a tool, a teaching that was going to be brought into your life, and you've already dismissed it. You're not even like, it's nowhere. I don't like this cereal. Instead of, I'm giving this all the meaning that it has. And I am now suffering because I have given this meaning, rather than, let me see the truth of this cereal. I'm one with this cereal. What do I know about this cereal? Is it helpful for me to eat this cereal? Is it helpful for my healing to eat this cereal? Is it at least helpful for me to recognize that this cereal, it can't be split into a dual identity except by me? Am I one with this cereal? I mean, that sounds silly, but that's the journey with everything. You go into the closet to get dressed. What will I wear today that will impress everybody else? What will I wear today that will have others like me and think that I'm really cool? What will make me feel good? Because I like it, because I like how it feels, because I like the weight, whatever. I'm giving it all the meaning that it has. Because if I have to like this, then there has to be something that I don't like. Because it's the world of duality. If there's a like, there has to be a dislike, and there has to be pain and suffering. There has to be a battle. Are these subtle battles? Absolutely, they're subtle battles. And you would say, oh, what's wrong with liking something? Add them up. All day long, likes, dislikes, likes, dislikes, likes, dislikes. Judgments, opinions, all day long, judgments, opinions. And it's all held as if those things are separate from you. As if those things are not the divine truth of God. As if they're not the light of God. You are giving them different meanings because of your separate world. But there's no healing there. There's no acceptance that I'm making up a world. And at the end of the day, I'm not happy. At the end of the day, I'm not living in peace. I'm living in turmoil. Because I've spent the day judging and defending and liking what I like and not liking what I don't like. And I've affirmed again that the world is all separate and that it's all separate things. and separate values and separate degrees and separate levels. Every time you have an opinion, you are giving something a separate value. You are deciding its value. You're not asking, show me this divine value here. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the value of this divine chair. It's not even a chair. It's the truth of God. Can I see the truth of God? Or am I determined that I know exactly what that is? And can you feel the defense system that insists that let's all agree this is a chair? And that's the world that the mind makes that keeps saying, I know, I know, I know. What I can promise you is that when you open, I don't know what anything is, and I don't know the meaning of anything. When you begin to open to these divine teachings, the world begins to lose its edge of identification. And the divineness of everything begins to open, and you begin to see through your heart instead of your eyes and your knowing of what everything means. So how does this continue in your everyday life? When you see someone that is upset, you're right on it. You know exactly that what this means to you. You have already identified it. I know what this means. This means I don't like this. This means there's danger here because I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get upset. Or the opposite, or what might seem to be the opposite. I need to fix that. I need to get rid of that because this is very. I don't like that. I don't like that. I got to rescue it. How can I fix this? Instead of, I don't know what this means, but how can I be of service here? How can I bring love? How can I bring the truth that this beloved is whole and complete, and I'm willing to see the holiness, the Christ, the beauty of this beloved beyond what they're displaying. If you walk into a grocery store and you see someone stealing something, immediately they're bad and wrong. Or they are wounded victims. You've decided what they are. You've decided they're not following the rules that you have deemed to be correct. But in that moment, there is an asking if this is your practice. There's a cry for help here from within and there. It looks like a separate cry. But this beloved is wanting to be seen as the truth of God. And am I seeing myself and this beloved as the truth of God, and how can I serve? The service may be to call the police, because that may be what's most helpful for that beloved. Or it may not be. You don't know. Because what I'm calling you to is the laws of God, not the rules of the world, but the laws of God, the laws of love. How can I serve this beloved? What's most helpful? I don't know. I don't know how to serve this beloved. But I'm willing. I'm willing to see through the eyes of love and be shown a new way. And I don't know. The willingness to be corrected. The willingness to have a teacher, a master, that you follow those teachings and you are willing to be corrected. Whether they're written teachings, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's the yes, I will follow. At Thursday's satsang, I sang a prayer that was to the Queen of the Forest, which is an aspect of the Divine Mother. And the song is, I will follow where you lead me, I will go. That's the heart. That's the heart that wants to follow, that wants correction, that wants to be shown a new way, and that recognizes that the past of your identity is not what you want anymore. If you still want your past, then that's okay too, because eventually you won't. Eventually everyone will recognize, oh, no thanks. But if you want your future to not be like your past, then the healing is now. It's staying in the present moment, and it's accepting correction, and it's living through the divine teachings rather than using them as a theory or nice ideas, but actually really truly wanting to live them. Does it take focus? Yeah, it does. It does. I remember the first time that I heard the word vigilant used in referencing embracing spiritual teachings. To be vigilant for love, to be vigilant for the truth, to be vigilant in applying the truth, to question the thoughts, to question the intentions that was running in a trance state. I hated the word vigilance. I absolutely hated the word vigilance because I had identified the word vigilance with paranoia and a hypervigilance that was an insanity. And that was the agreement of the family that I walked with. So I was always afraid of vigilance because to me it was insanity. And here was this teaching that said, become vigilant. And I had to trust that. I had to trust that the master that was sent to me was not asking me to become insane. I was already insane. But that the vigilance was not what I thought it was and what I thought I knew it was. It was a paying attention of love. That I was embracing so much self-love by being vigilant, that I was bringing a vigilance to my life of wanting the truth and wanting to follow the truth, that I was loving and offering love to this heart through that vigilance. I was committed to remembering love. What greater love could that be but to offer that divine yes to bringing awareness into the light. It is the love, and it is a vigilance, but it's not insanity. It's actually the release of insanity for sanity. There is another teaching that served so beautifully, which was, and could be taken as a reprimand if you choose to be in battle. But the teaching is, you are much too tolerant of your mind wanderings. And when I first received that, it was, yeah, I am. I've been too tolerant. Way too tolerant. I've tolerated self-hatred. I have tolerated knowing. I have tolerated needing to be defended. I have tolerated that I was right. I've tolerated that I knew something. And I am not going to be tolerant anymore of these lies. I don't know anything. I don't know how to walk the way of love. I don't know how to let go. But I will be shown. I will be led. I will be guided if I ask. If I say, this is what I want, please show me. Please, I'm ready. I want this. Every day I want this. This is what I came here for. I incarnated because I thought I was separate and I was alone and I was without and I was unworthy of love. And I wasn't going to leave this earth plane without that devotion. Whether I woke up or not, who knew? God knew. But I was devoting this lifetime to remembering love. And I wanted it. And I wanted to remember and come home. And when that is wanted, when that is your heart, it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed you're going to come home anyways. It's just how much time or whatever time you want to take is up to you. It isn't a question whether you will. It's guaranteed. It's your natural state. It's who you are. It's who everyone is as one. It's just the remembering of that divine existence. There's nothing here that is missing. From here, all that is seen is the divine. From here, just beauty, innocence, perfection. And it's just that yes to join that truth and come home to that awareness. It's just an awareness. I use this often, as almost everybody does. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Everything looks the same. But just the form remains the same. But the divine is all lit up. Love itself. Heaven on earth. Nothing missing. Beauty, light, and perfection. So if there are any questions, yes, my darling.
I struggle a lot with my mind, as you know. And I have a couple of different friends that talk a lot about the Enneagram and about different ways of understanding your personalities and things. And I wonder sometimes about the usefulness of those things, and especially for somebody like me who struggles with over-analyzing and in my mind take hold of something, and so I'm tempted to kind of go in and dive into all these things, which I've done off and on for many years, but I'm starting to wonder about
whether they're helpful. They can be helpful if they are used with the awareness that they are a map, a loose map, that can help you identify what's in the way of your strategies. So character structures are also that, and so is astrology, and there's different modalities. Where they're not helpful is that they're used to determine who you are. So I had a beloved say one time, and he was a very wonderful astrologer. In that he, could weave in and out of astrology and knew all the ins and outs and everything. And one day he said something about being a Capricorn, and no, a Sagittarius, Sagittarius. And he said, "That's who I am." And I went, "Wow, that's who you are." And so there's just another element that has to be let go, because now it's been taken as identity, and it's been, affirmed and ground into, that's who I am. It's like he found who he was, but he didn't find who he was. He found the structure that was here to be let go. So if you can use it, so I studied character structures for many years, and it was extremely helpful in healing, in the sense that I identified the strategies that I used and how I defended myself in the world. It was much easier to see through those maps of, okay, I see where all of a sudden, so within the character structures there's an element of the oral character structure. So all of a sudden there's this description of this neediness and this wanting to suck the life force out of everybody. and it was like shining the light on what I didn't want to expose, of what I was trying to hide from, believing that it was true. I was completely in the belief that it was real. So I had to really be aware of not adding another self-identification with it, but to use it to shine the light on the strategies that I adapted for self-protection, for self-preservation. So if they can be used in that way, that they are another opportunity to shine the light on how you've structured yourself in some way, and what you use for defense systems, and what you think that they're going to give you. But eventually they all have to be surrendered, and that they're not true. So it's to walk with them lightly in that way. But the tendency of the ego is to self-identify. It's like, oh, okay, now I've got it. I figured it out. And I see where they all came from, and who did what, and how I got here. Well, no, you're still in the same place. You're just more identified. And that won't be helpful.
So seeing what's in the way, but holding it lightly so that
You don't re-identify
really
with it.
just keep holding on to something that's not real.
Yeah. The other part of it is that in some structures like that, it will lay out how difficult it is to heal from those things. You know, like, this is really a tenacious attribute here. This is a real tenacious characteristic. You're never going to let this go. Yeah, I remember looking at the masochistic character structure, and which I didn't happen to really carry, but you know, it was like, wow, that's a tough one. Well, then you begin seeing others, so I could see everybody else's too. So then I was identifying everybody else as their character structure and limiting them in that. You know, then I just didn't need just their personalities. Now I could even take their body shapes and identify and limit them through their body shapes. It's all just structures that we've all adapted and adopted to defend. And all of the defenses are to be let go. They're all not true. They're all temporary structures that have been used to defend and protect in some way. But they can be helpful of, oh, look at that. Yeah. I remember one day, I studied it for quite a long time, and I was in one of my classes, and I was the guinea pig in the class, and I was standing up and being analyzed, and somebody was focusing on my ankles because they're really thin, and the thin ankles, proved I didn't want to be here. Well, that was absolutely true. I didn't want to be here. Not just that moment. I didn't want to be here at all. And they were in that way telling that story. But it wasn't to be affirmed and reaffirmed that was a true identity in any way. It all means nothing in the end. Everything can be used for love. And the most helpful really is to be guided. Is this helpful? Would this be helpful for me in this moment to investigate this or not? If it's no, then okay. If it's yes, then let it open again with every time you're investigating it or entering into it, that you surrender it into the hands of God to be used for healing and not for identification and not for anchoring a false identity.
I have a question, please.
Yes, my darling.
Somewhere in the Course in Miracles, it says that a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible but inevitable. Can you elaborate?
A universal theology?
It says
Yeah, it's not
it's
possible.
not possible, but a universal experience is possible and is inevitable. It's talking about love.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the universal theology is impossible because there is so much split in the belief systems in the universe, in the world, that through theology, which is of this world, you're never going to get two people to agree. Or if you get two people to agree, you won't get a third to agree. So you're not going to unite, you're not going to come into divine union through theology, through opinions of different ideas. But the universal experience of love it can always it will be shared, because it goes past the mind and into the heart, and is experienced as the divine and the oneness, and that's where everybody meets and remembers and returns home.
That really speaks to me a lot.
That's why there's absolutely no helpfulness in arguing or even discussing different points of view of what people believe in, because it's just ideas and just beliefs, and you don't know what someone else's journey needs to look like. You don't know what will be most helpful for another, and there's no right or wrong in any way of walking to return home. But love is all that there is, and that is shared.
That's the universal experience.
That's the universal experience. And it goes beyond experience, because experience is like a step into complete awareness.
And that's what Jesus says, I'm leading you to a kind of experience that you can deny. That the love.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That it's all love.
Question. I find that as you make what you think is progress on a spiritual path, a lot of what allows you to open up is your ability to trust, right? To trust if you don't know, or if your mind is comfortable, if it feels like that this is okay, your mind will let you feel safe. But I find that there are times when I am in such certain situations where I feel truly at risk, truly
at rest.
At risk.
I feel
truly unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't rely on my mind at all.
Nope.
And the trust that I feel is not there. But I know that, and so when you're in that situation, that's a situation where you're sort of at the precipice of what is truly unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to know what is pure folly and foolishness or is real letting go. And so I kind of wanted to hear from you, like, what do you do at that moment? Or how do you approach that moment with real love?
So first, if there is anything but peace, it's already that the mind is making up a belief in that moment. You're seeing through the mind, through the beliefs of danger, of vulnerability, if you want to call it that. And so to recognize in that moment, I'm not experiencing peace, I'm not experiencing joy or harmony. So I am making something up. I am in the belief that there is a battle. And this is not of God. And I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to embrace that I cannot be hurt, because that's what it comes back down to, is that you're not safe. And in that moment, so all of this is going on. This is the nanosecond computer downloading. In that moment, you completely believe that you're a body and that you are subject to death. That's where all the fear comes from, is that it will harm me. Now, the body being not just the physical body, but the emotional body, and so even if it's not a physical threat, if someone, let's say you're walking down the street and there are two people fighting, you're not really that fearful that you will be in that fight, but it's disturbing to you from a place of possibly the past that says the world is not safe, and that it triggers within you a sense of your own vulnerability, even though you're not in that fight.
So if I see someone getting mocked,
Mm-hmm.
should the right state that I be in is perfectly at peace
Yes.
at that moment?
Yes. That doesn't mean that there isn't action that comes from that peaceful place. I'm going to relate a peaceful place with action that will speak to this. So one day there was, within the sanctuary, there was a healing that was occurring, but it was coming out as a beloved being agitated, upset, nervous, defended, like that. And I was called to step closer and closer and closer to this beloved. And this beloved did not like it at all. And it was triggering within this beloved the past of don't contain me, don't touch me, don't come near me, whatever. I'm unsafe, I don't like this, all of that. But I was called to keep coming closer and closer. And finally, this beloved said, don't touch me. And I was called to put my arms around her and actually not let go. And we ended up, she was so upset that we ended up spinning out of the room into the other room with me still hanging on. And I wasn't called to let go. It was completely peaceful. There wasn't anything happening here. There was no adrenaline rush. There was nothing. And I was actually, wow, look at this, we're spinning into the other room. And holding on, fell to the ground, still holding on. This beloved tried to buck me off. I wasn't letting go. Because the call was to love and to not let go. And then something broke within that resistance. And there was healing. Because the soul at that moment that I could hear, and the soul was saying, don't let go. Don't let me go. Hang on. And I hung on.
But being called also implies that there's something that you're
Aware
aware of to do, but what if you're in a situation where you have no calling, you're just there?
You're just there. But then that's what you ask. You ask, how can I, you don't say the words, how can I be truly helpful when it's going so fast? But that's what your intention is. I want to serve. I want to help. Show me the way. This is a beautiful question, because the building and the development of that relationship of communication, of communion, of being open for that, has to be practiced all the time, because it's not going to come, more than likely, in that moment when it hasn't been something that's been invited before and really wanted. So it has to be nurtured and practiced, and then it becomes an open channel because that's what you're wanting. You're really wanting to be led. You're wanting to be shown the way of what's most helpful, not just with others, but with everything for your life. Because you don't want to rely anymore on your own knowing that's coming from the past. So you're opening to the divine guidance that will show you the way. And it's like Jamie's question with whether it's I Ching or whether it's Enneagram, doesn't matter. What it is this going to be helpful for me? I'm willing to follow. I'm willing, if it's helpful, to embrace, but keep showing me the way because I don't know. And it will be shown. And it's totally possible to stay perfectly calm. And I've had beloveds, screaming at me, and I'm just sitting right there going, what is it what would be helpful right now? Because there's no threat. It's just pain. It's just. Does that mean that if somebody, at a baseball bat was going to hit me, I'm not necessarily going to stand there, but it's possible. And that's that everything's for love. But it may not be helpful for them, and that is the key. It's not what happens in spiritual healing is that you start to step out of the narcissism of what about me? I have to defend me. I have to protect me. I have to take care of me. But you begin to open to the divine service that is recognizing that, oh, that is me. There is no me. That's me. This is all me. And when I'm offering love and helpfulness to another, this is self-love.
But it's easy to be open when you don't feel like there's any risk, right? I've always found that I'm much more intuitive when I'm.
Of course.
But when you're in situations where you do not feel safe,
no,
that's and it's presented to you, and all of a sudden it's not something you can just practice. I find that to be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. But here's the funny thing, is that everybody has these different levels of what they think is safe. So for one person, if somebody is yelling in the next room, they are already not feeling safe. Where there's really no threat. It's just the perception, the identity with it that is affecting. And it's your perception, and you are at the effect of what you believe. That's all. No matter what the situation. You're always at the effect of what you are believing. And every moment's going to be an opportunity for deeper awareness and deeper healing. And there's no right or wrong. It's all for learning. So, you can say afterwards, oh, I wasn't very present, but I can forgive myself because I'm learning. And I could forgive myself no matter what because nothing actually happened. I didn't make a mistake. I just see that I was still caught in that, and that's the learning of the moment, and how beautiful is that? And it isn't not, it's like I said, if you see somebody stealing something in a store, the calling may be to call the police. It isn't that it's, oh, they're just wounded. It's what is going to be really most helpful for them. They may need to go walk through that in order to have that awareness that their life is not working. We don't know. But we're willing. We're willing to open those doors and let the divine show the way and what will serve. And there's no way of knowing ahead of time what's going to. When I was in Portland last month at Christmas time, I took the beloved who came as my granddaughter. I took her shopping to get her her mommy's present, and we went to the mall like 2 days before Christmas, and it was just jam packed. And we were coming back out of the stores, and we had parked like way down, and we couldn't find the car. And I just started laughing, and she didn't think that was funny at all, that we'd lost the car. But it's just, someone else might have been upset about that. Or like 3 weeks ago, we just moved into a new sanctuary, and a beloved that lives across the street, who we hadn't met yet, came over and said, or left a note saying, "I hit your car," and and she was just so apologetic, and it was the car that I use, and it was such a beautiful opportunity to love, because she came up as we were getting ready to come here, and packing the car and everything, and said, "Oh, I'm just so sorry." And I said, "It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. The car will be fixed, and even if it wasn't fixed, it's just a car. It doesn't mean anything." And this divine moment, this beloved is not in this spiritual path. This beloved is not saying, "Oh, I want you for my spiritual teacher." No, but this beloved is looking for love. And this is just the moment of love. And that it's all in perfection. That nothing, and it's all in the perfection, because or else she wouldn't have come over and wouldn't have had that opportunity of being in love and released from the belief of wrongdoing. And so it's always the opportunity to love, whether you find the car or not in the mall parking lot. I am upset because I think I see something that is not there, and that's always the teaching. I'm upset because I'm believing something is wrong, and I believe in the whatever, and there's nothing there. And trusting that. Yes, my darling.
So, is it possible to be fully present and still have beliefs?
Not fully present. You can be fully present, or you can be present, but if you have beliefs, you're really not fully present.
Well, so it's clear that I have beliefs, but let me ask you, do you have any beliefs? No beliefs?
No.
Do you believe that you can walk?
Not particularly. I happen to walk. It seems like it's walking, but it's not a belief. It's not an identity.
All right. No, but I don't mean belief in the sense of identity. I just mean it as having thoughts. And not just random thoughts, but some organized thoughts that, there are some beliefs that are useful.
Like what?
Like having a teacher.
There's awareness.
Well, are you saying that there are no beliefs that are useful? Or that useful beliefs are...
Beliefs are very useful into awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But...
it's the choice of the beliefs. Because when you're in the spiritual journey, you're trading your beliefs of limitation and separation for the belief in wholeness and oneness.
Yeah.
It's not an awareness.
But that's a shift in belief.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a belief.
But that's the useful. Those are the useful beliefs.
So I'm just...
Yeah.
Right. So,
but in awareness, those beliefs don't exist anymore. Because they're awareness. It's not. Okay. It's emerging. It's not a separate belief anymore. And everything just shows up. It doesn't. It
doesn't have to be believed in.
It doesn't have to be believed in. It just is.
Up.
It just is, and what is just shows up, and that's what is. And that's ultimately where the state of peace is, because there's nothing there's nothing to believe in, there's nothing to sort out in anything. And that's freedom. But it's also in the spiritual seeming journey, when you are trading beliefs of limitation for the beliefs of wholeness, you're not yet trusting that everything just shows up as it's most helpful. So you don't have to. What's very amazing is that in the state of oneness, you're not holding anymore. So I get accused of this a lot, that I don't have any memory anymore. Except when it's brought forth to serve beloveds. But that's the only time it shows up. And thoughts don't come. So there's not a stream of thinking all the time, which is what, the ego does. It's just that there's an awareness that shows up, and oh, okay, I guess walking to the mailbox. Okay, it's not thought through or thought of.
In the seeming journey, the belief that things will show up as there are needed or called for, that would be a useful belief. But it's often not there.
Well, it's a useful belief. It's a useful trust.
Yeah, trust.
Yeah, absolutely, because it is actually the truth.
Right.
Because in the flow of love, in the flow of existence, everything is in harmony, and there is no actual you, me, that is in. It's all that one. And so it just has to show up because it's all that there is. And it's a state of being. But it's no longer having to trust that. You've melted into the trust. And it just is.
Now there are some...
But there's no good and bad. And this is part of what the trust is for, is because there is the split of these likes and dislikes, and this is good and this is bad, and this is acceptable and this is not acceptable. Well, that's turmoil. But if everything is just love and light, then there's no split of good and bad. There's no parsing things out and deciding what you like and what you don't like. It's like something simple like eating, Oh, this is what's. It isn't just what shows up. It's you can look in the refrigerator and say, oh, I'm called to this, but there's no There's no deciding. It's just that's what's called for, and it's just simple.
So it sounds like you're telling us that your mind doesn't work the way it used to work at
Oh
all.
no.
And so
Not
my
at all.
question to you is, at what point did your mind change? Did it change because it was capitulated to change, or did it change because it collapsed?
Probably both. Actually, I had many experiences, many situations where all of, and I actually wrote about this, is that, there would be, all of a sudden, the whole body system would just fry and would just, one side would be listing this way, or this would be going like this, or I remember one time everything was upside down and inside out. And it was actually on the metaphysical level, the unraveling of a whole system that was upside down and was functioning through the belief of fear and the belief of limitation. And it just, so that occurred too, but I can't say that was it. It really, in healing, it really comes through the resting. That everything is just resting. That there's nothing to do, nothing to do, nothing to become, nothing to grab onto. And it's just resting. So the mind begins to totally rest. And when the mind begins to rest, which means that there's nothing needed, nothing to do, nothing to figure out, everything follows in that resting. And the whole system begins to just dissolve into love. So like even the nervous system, goes and just goes into love. Because there's nothing to battle with.
And does that carry through into the night, into sleep?
Everything.
And it wakes up that way in a state of perfect rest.
Yes. There's no thoughts that is, when sleep is done, there's no thoughts of, of anything. Or, another day. I'm very familiar with all of them because I certainly carried all of them and lived them all. But, now, in this state of sleep, it isn't the same state of sleep. Usually, or very often, I am called, invited by beloveds to work on the inner planes of healing, calling beloveds to the heart, inviting them, comforting, repairing when invited.
So these are spiritual connections with other beloveds.
Mm-hmm. Not necessarily all beloveds that are known. In the when I was in later stages of the perceived journey, I was, and continue to be, but I was then also very, very open. Could see, could read minds, could all of that, and then it all closed because it was no longer helpful. Because I was being called to let go of all identity with it, because I had attached to that a persona of specialness of some kind, and that all had to be let go, so it completely closed. Then it reopened in awakening because there was nothing for it not to be open to. But in the last stages, when I would go to sleep, I didn't know it was the last stages at the time, but it turned out that it was. When I would go to sleep, it was right after I would start to go into that sleep state, the preliminary sleep state, and all of a sudden I would be someplace else. I would be in another city, and it was clear that I was not in the bed, and it was clear that I was not in the town. I would be in other parts of the world someplace. I would show up. One time I showed up as there was a birthday party, and I was standing there, and I didn't see any purpose to be there. I wasn't shown anything of what I was there for. And another time I was standing on the edge of a riverbank, and there was a school bus that was sinking in the river. And then it began to become clear that I was there to serve humanity's healing in whatever way those souls were calling for. And then that continues now. And it isn't necessarily that I am completely in those different places, but I am everywhere. There's no limitation.
In sleep, or is this during the day?
Sometimes it's during the day, but mostly it's at night.
And this state of perfect resting that you were describing, is that like a gateway or an entry way into that, or is it independent of that?
Not quite. You mean when I'm just resting?
Well, the state of the mind being at perfect rest at every moment, is that state an entryway or gateway to these other states that you were just describing, or is it independent of?
My sense is it somewhat works together, but it's not necessarily that resting in that way you would be called to be in other places.
So it's the calling.
Yeah. Yes, my love.
Jerry and I always read Course in Miracles before we go to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
also in the morning. And it was it's been happening a few times now. The first time it happened, I was reading about spirits and what have you, and I took a long time thinking about it. Then I would turn the light off and, try to get to sleep. And all of a sudden, I felt someone sort of gently touching me like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sort of had my back to him, and I said, "Are you touching me?" And he said, "No." But it was definitely someone touching me.
Mm-hmm. Right now, this room is filled with beings. There's nothing there. There isn't a time when beings aren't here everywhere. You have guides. You have beings that are moving and always around. It's just that you opened in that to be more into a deeper awareness. I remember one night, this was early in the spiritual journey, and I would still get freaked out by it, Well, I was. I was a little freaked out. I was just starting to again, starting to rest, which is when it happens a lot, because you're letting go, you're relaxing, and you're not caught in the world, and especially with your eyes open and everything. But I felt the presence, but it startled me, and I kind of jumped, and as soon as I jumped, it was gone, and I said, "Oh, come back." I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get startled. But it's just opening and being available that you have mighty companions. Companions of love are always surrounding you and always wanting to serve you, and always, it's a very busy place.
But I've also been having more spiritual dreams as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems more as we read it at night.
That's because of the relaxation
Yeah.
and the permission, in a sense, because the permission is I am at rest. Even when you're not aware of the permission, you're actually giving permission by resting and not believing that you have to be aware, awake, have your eyes open, all of that. It's just a deeper permission. That's why meditation, and not necessarily formal meditation, but just that is so helpful, because it helps you to be in a deeper communion. And the deeper communion, one of its divine purposes of deeper communion in those ways is to reassure you, is to comfort you in that you are not alone, even though everything in your identification still says I am separate. It begins to open those doorways of, oh, I'm not alone. I'm in communion and contact with all beings of light and love. And then I would say the one area to be aware of for everyone is to, if you begin to really open to those realms more, that that is one of my teachers would sometimes say, just because you're dead doesn't mean you're smart. Which really means, what he was really saying was, you want to affirm that you are here to serve light and love, and that you're willing to commune with beings that are serving that purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's sometimes easy when you're not in a place of complete healing, that you're going to attract sometimes energies that are not in service to you, and you don't have to be afraid of it at all, because it's still made up. But it's just to affirm that you're willing to communicate and commune with all beings of love and light. Thank you. So in this moment, as we close, take this opportunity to affirm the healing within you, that in this moment and in this use of time, there has been healing, there has been an opportunity for a deeper yes, an opportunity to affirm light and love, and that you want to bring this into your life and to serve humanity in every moment. And we can begin that service as we close, that with every beloved here in Holy Union, you bring your heart to each beloved and hold that beloved in a tender heart, in quietness, and in a beautiful union of the heart together. Just for a few minutes to affirm divine intention with and for each other.